Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right, hello everybody. All right, I think we're good there. I'll wait a little bit, let everyone jump in on the live. For everyone who's just hanging out with us, we are hanging out, answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. Please feel free to throw any questions you may have in the chat. We're just getting going here, waiting for some folks to jump on and chat with us. Hello, everybody. Just hanging out with us. We are just getting going here. Hanging out, answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. We are on TikTok. We are on YouTube. So just hanging out, answer any questions you may have. Feel free to throw it into the chat if you got it. We'd love to answer any questions anybody has about 911 dispatching. We're going to be hanging out for probably a couple hours today. Probably at least 2 hours today, chatting about 911 dispatching, answering any questions you may have. If you're just joining us, please feel free to throw any questions into the chat. Don't forget to like the live, whether you are on TikTok or YouTube. Let people know we are in here chatting away and trying to get any questions you may have answered. Over here on YouTube, hello, just wanted to say I love your content. Yes, and it helped me pass 2 critical exams for 2 different agencies. Now I get to hurry up and wait. That is the best definition for our lovely application process. First, congratulations. Critical is no joke. It is a tough test. So I'm so glad that our resources were able to help you not only pass 1, but two tests, which hopefully means you get to be a little picky when you're choosing the right agency for you. So congratulations. I'm so glad that our resources helped you do that. For everyone who's just hanging out with us, don't forget to like the live on whatever platform you are tuning in. We're just getting going. We're only 3 minutes in. We're going to hang out for at least an hour or two. So definitely feel free to like the live, share the live, tell a friend, come in here and chat with us. We're going to have hopefully some folks jump on with us as well later today. So definitely just hanging out with you folks. Sarah Allen wanted to say hello in Kansas, been with 911 for 3 years. Hello from California, Sarah. 911 for 3 years. Congratulations. 3 years, man. I just did a post. I've been trying to film content today. It's been a little bit of a struggle, not gonna lie. But it's my 7 years this month. So time flies by, man. Time flies by. So I'm sure that 3 years flew by as well. Hey, you guys are awesome. We're already at almost 500 likes on TikTok. 4 minutes in. Not bad. Not bad at all. We're streaming on YouTube, streaming on TikTok, just hanging out, answering any questions that you may have. Over here on YouTube, hi there, I recently applied and I'm a little concerned about me having an accent. Would that be a problem for this job? By the way, love your content. I'd say no. You might have to work a little harder to communicate over the phone, but we need people in our centers who are reflective of the communities that we serve. And the folks that we are answering these calls, they have accents as well. So there's no reason for any dispatchers not to have an accent. Like, that is who you are. That makes you an amazing individual. Heck yeah, I don't think that's an issue. And any center that would, not the best center to be at. So Melissa, I definitely think you should continue to pursue this field, regardless of that. That is not a negative; it's a positive, in my opinion. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We're just getting going here, answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. Don't forget to like the live on whatever platform you are tuning in on. We are trying to go live a lot more and have these organic conversations with you folks. If there's any questions you have, throw it in the chat. We'll do our best to get you some feedback. Ronnie just passed EMD test. I have EFD next week. I've been with my agency for 3 months now. Congrats! EFD, no joke. No joke. So glad that you were able to pass that part of the process and move on in training. Training is so long, and I think sometimes we forget to celebrate like each milestone. Said earlier, I hit my 7 years. I'm still friends with some of my academy mates, and like those moments when we're just trying to make it, like they're so more so much more valuable than we like to remember in the moment. So props, Ronnie. Celebrate that first win. You're going to be on to your second one very, very soon. Jessica, California. I'm still in the interview process for ambulance as well as police dispatching. Man, just hang on. Buckle up. I know. Our process is long. It is never quick, but I promise you it is worth it. So I definitely hope you hear some good news relatively soon. You guys are awesome. We're already at 630 likes. You guys are doing amazing. Thank you so much for that. Continue to like, share, tell a friend. Like I said, we're only 7 minutes into this. We're going to be hanging out for at least 2 hours, I'm thinking. Probably we'll have to switch the battery on this camera one time, That's how long we're going to be hanging out today. So definitely make sure to continue to like that live so we can get more people in here talking about 911 dispatching. All right, got another question here on YouTube, which I love. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on YouTube. This is only the second time that I've streamed live like this on YouTube, so I know I have a huge following there, and I want to make sure that I'm interacting with you folks and giving you a chance to, ask questions and interact. So thank you so much for joining on YouTube as well. My father has been a 911 dispatcher for 5+ years. Freaking awesome. Tell your dad thank you for his service. Asked him this following question, which I'd love to hear your take on. Once you go through the training in totality, do you think you're actually ready for the job? And if so not, when will you know you are ready? So I feel like it takes at least a few years of you doing this job solo bolo, no one holding your hand, no one telling you what to do, to really feel comfortable dealing with emergencies, dealing with people's worst days, right? It just takes a couple of years of doing the job. You have all the tools. When the poo hits the fan, your body knows how to react and what to do. But that like calm, knowing what to do, feeling super, super confident in every choice you make, that comes with years. I would say at least 2 years of doing the job solo out of training. I learn something new every day. I go to work. Even when I wasn't in training at a new agency, like I learned something new every day. So if you're a new trainee, if you're just getting out of one-on-one training and you're just doing the job on your own, that's where the fun begins. That's where you get to sit in and actually learn to do this job the way you want to do it. Hey, almost at 1,000 likes already on TikTok. Don't forget to like the live wherever it is you're hanging out with us. We're going to be chilling for a minute here. So definitely tune in and throw any questions in the chat you may have. And if you want to jump on, if you're watching on TikTok, and you want to jump on and ask a question or have a conversation, feel free to send me a guest chat or a guest request. Is that the right word? And I'll bring you on. We can chat. Meg, hi from Maryland, 16 years in police, fire, EMS, 911, CTO, studying for my EMP. I'm studying for my EMP too. Oh, it is much easier said than done. It's a lot of content, a lot of stuff, really trying to sit down and study and find time to study. As you can see, I am always a busy individual. So, congrats, Meg, on working on that E&P. That's on my to-do list as well. I'm hoping to sit for, I think it's December, January session. We'll see though. Ronnie, in Ohio, we have a 12-week training course before we hit the phones. Yeah, I love that. I love that for you, Ronnie. Doing a training off the floor is so helpful when actually hitting the floor. It's very like there's a word for it in training, but it's very like breadcrumb, giving you a little piece, rather than throwing you into that deep end. So very cool that you guys got to do a 12-week training course. Ronnie, I had my first obvious death call last week. It was easier than I thought it would be. Man, you never know, Ronnie, what calls are going to affect you what way. I think one of the best examples that people have given in my training is, kid calls never affected me until I had a kid. I had a trainer that said that, so you never know. Every call feels a little differently for everybody. So, but I'm glad you did well with it. And of course, for anyone who's listening, who's just getting started into this career or is considering this career, you are gonna be bothered by something, whether it is a call or a lot of calls, kind of building up, filling your backpack, filling your bucket, as they say. So you want to do preventative work. You don't want to have to respond to that crisis, right? You want to do the work. So whether that's therapy, whether that's yoga, like whatever that looks like for you, start doing it early before you're really feeling it, so it'll help you work through when that heavy moment comes, because it'll come. Melissa over here on YouTube, doing my research before I applied, that you have to be fast typing. I'm a little slow and definitely need to look at the keyboard. What's your take on this? So you can't be glued to your keyboard, but you can look. This isn't, middle school where you're doing your typing test. You could peek at the keyboard, totally, but you have to be able to scan a lot of other equipment. We looked at one center yesterday, the day before. They had 10 screens. My center operates on 6 screens. I've had 8 screens in a center. So it's mostly you have to be able to, as you're typing, kind of look around, be able to move between softwares. So it's not necessarily like how fast can you type. It's how fast are you typing while the person is saying something, while you need to move over here, which is a learned trait. You always want to improve your typing skills, but, this job isn't make or break in how fast you type. I hope that makes sense, Melissa. Please ask any follow-up questions if you need some clarity on that. Thank you guys so much. You guys are rocking it. We're almost at 1,200 likes on TikTok. I don't know where to look and see how many likes we have on YouTube in this little view I got going on here. But if you are liking the YouTube channel, thank you so much for doing that. We're just hanging out answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. Feel free to throw any questions into the chat. We'll do our best to get you an answer here. Went to my interview today. It went so good. I'll have a yes or no answer Monday or Tuesday. Hey, welcome back, Arkansas Fireman. I'm so glad that you had a good interview today. I hope you hear rather quickly. See, Bob, been dispatching in Boston for 38 years. Had my last code 3 today. That is wild. 38 years. Congratulations. I hope that the rest you have planned after 38 years is epic. 38 years, no freaking joke. Congrats. I just passed Critty test. Okay, hold on. I like the Critty test. I think I might have to start calling it Critty. The Critty test. Or is there another test called the Critty test? Or is that Critical and we're shorthanding that? Because I like that. I'm liking that. Critty test orientation is next. Very cool. I'm glad they're hosting an orientation. That's an awesome sign for that agency. For everyone who's just hanging out with us, we're just hanging out, chatting about 911 dispatching. Throw any questions into the chat you may have. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, so I'm working through both chats to make sure everyone gets their questions answered. Let's see. Over here on YouTube, get to bring your own equipment such as mouse and keyboard, or do you things vary? So things definitely vary from agency to agency. I think majority post-COVID, pre-COVID, I think a lot of folks used one singular keyboard per station. I think post-COVID, a lot of agencies have shifted into buying everyone their own keyboard. And they're not buying the fancy, gaming keyboards. Probably can see it. They're not buying you these. If you want something like this at your station, you got to buy that yourself. I buy my own keyboard for work. That's just my preference. But majority of folks do buy their own keyboard because they want something fancy. Otherwise, the agency will provide the keyboard. The mouse, no one, I mean, I guess my old partner at my old job, she brought her own mouse, but a lot of folks just use the mouse because there's usually like 3 mice that work on different things. So it's a little harder to bring your own mouse. And then they provide your headset. So some folks have like the in-the-ear headset. Here's my llama. Let's see if we can bring this. Let's see. Now that. Some people have, the 2-ear, or some people just have one. But they will provide you your headset, and yeah, all your basic equipment. But if you want the upgrade, the fancy keyboard, then you gotta bring that yourself. What a name, Alpha Male, out here looking like Rosie O'Donnell. I guess so. Not a bad comparison. Rosie's cool people. For everyone who's just hanging out with us, we are at about 1,150 likes on TikTok. So thank you so much for liking the live. Feel free to throw any questions into the chat in regards to 911 dispatching. If you are interested in jumping on, chatting with us, feel free to send a guest request and we'll bring you on here. Thank you so much for the roses. Thank you so much for sharing and liking the live. We're just answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. If you are a dispatcher, feel free to throw it into the chat and we will do our best. We got some real negative people over here on YouTube. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for continuing to like the live. People are wild out here on the internet, so let me tell you. Random people jumping on a random live just spewing hate is crazy to me. Like especially when there's no political anything going on here, right? Like we are sitting here talking about 911 dispatching, talking about a career, and some random person whose name is Alpha Male jumps onto the chat and says some wild stuff. This is wild. It's wild 2025. So thank you guys so much for continuing to like the live. I'm doing my best to look at all these questions you guys are throwing in here. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your patience. We're working through it right now. How traumatizing is it to be a dispatcher? Yeah, it's definitely traumatizing. I mean, it's tough, right? Because you are exposed to so much trauma. Every call that's dropped into your ear is someone calling 911. Hopefully, they're using 911 for a life or death emergency, and you are constantly being exposed to that. So it's not that you're taking, like these terrible, terrible, terrible calls every single call. It's just that you're exposed to so much that you you it starts to compound, right? So I think that's the level of trauma exposure that we get exposed to as a dispatcher. And um I always compare it to, like, when I send my officer to like a really hot call, like a pew pew call or something like that, they might be tied up on that one wild call for hours, right? Because they're doing interviews, they're writing reports, they're doing their job. Whereas, okay, I got them to the scene of that emergency, I'm answering another one and another one. So it's not that one is like worse or harder than the other. It is simply that it just looks different. The exposure looks different. For everybody who's just hanging out, we're just answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. Working through the chat here. We are on TikTok. We are on YouTube, trying to, answer any questions you may have. So don't forget to continue to like the live if you are on whatever channel. We're almost at 2,500 likes. You guys are awesome. We're going to be hanging out here for at least a couple hours. So thank you so much for joining us. What would you say is the hardest part of the job? Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the exposure rate. I think it's a little bit of the schedule. Um, Gosh, but those things are also the cool part of the job, right? If you want to go get a lot of money, there's a lot of overtime available for this line of work. Yeah, the toughest part of the job. Yeah, I think it's got to just be that exposure to so many folks' trauma. Um, it goes into your bag, and you definitely need to continue to work through your stuff. I think sometimes we can be responsive. Emergency happens, I call 911, they send help. In this line of work, you definitely have to do the work before the emergency happens. So when you get that tough call, that hard day, you have the tools in your tool belt to get through it better than if you did not have them in your tool belt. You guys are so freaking awesome. We're at 3,000 likes and we're like 23 minutes into this thing, and I'm going to be sitting here for at least another hour and a half or so. So keep throwing those questions, keep sharing, keep liking, all that good stuff. We're going to be hanging out, trying to get out all your questions answered for the day. What kind of questions are asked during the lie detector examination? Now, I am not a polygrapher, a polygrapher, graphite? I don't know what their actual technical names are, but I don't do polygraph tests. I have only received polygraph tests, and the questions they ask are all yes or no questions, and they are told to you before they turn on the machine. So you sit down, you usually go through the questionnaire you had to fill out prior to showing up for your test, and then your polygrapher will go, okay, here's question 1 I'm going to ask, and you're going to say yes or no. Question 2. So when you do go through the test, you know what questions are being asked of you. They know what you're going to say when you give your answer, and they usually make you lie on one of those tests. So they'll say something like, are the walls are white in this room? And then they make you say no, even though the walls are white. So they tend to be generic questions like, have you ever lied to someone you love? Yes or no, but again, once you get to the polygraph phase of your process, you should have already told all your little secrets to your backgrounder. So nothing should come out in the polygraph that your polygrapher doesn't already know, your backgrounder doesn't already know. Yeah, you've already told all your little secrets. So My son is a 911 dispatcher for Orange County, Florida. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. I've been trying to get out to Florida. Haven't gotten out to Florida yet to see any centers out there. Okay, I had to come back today to tell you I got the job. Hey, Barbara, I remember you. You've been on the last couple of times we've been live. Oh, I dropped something. Congratulations. Gold hearts in the chat for Barbara. Congratulations. Welcome to the Thin Gold Line family. I am so glad you finally got the word. I know waiting for this process is long and tough. So congrats, Barbara. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. I used to be a 911 call taker for SAPD. Oh, hello. What about the common toxic culture? How do you deal with it? Yeah, Veronica, the toxic culture in 911 dispatching is out of this world, really. It's quite unfortunate that that is a common trait, a common thread that our industry is known for. And I think we deal with it by doing this, by having conversations, by letting people know that we know it exists and that we need to change. I think the biggest thing in our centers for 911 dispatchers is you have to be willing to come to the table with your managers, your supervisors, your direct whatever line of support, and have solution-oriented conversations. I know sometimes we can blame management. They don't care. They don't do this. They don't do that. But that creates a very defensive conversation, right? We're not getting anywhere with that. So we got to be willing to have direct solution-oriented conversations with management, and we got to be responsible for the things we can control in our centers and how we show up to our centers. There's a lot of things we can do on our shift with our direct people, our teammates, to make that place a place we love to work in. And you got to extend the hand to the folks who are even difficult to work with. So I know sometimes we can cold shoulder folks that we don't get along with. But sometimes you got to extend the hand. You got to create the environment that you want to work in, and then have those meeting conversations with leadership as well. And you got to know when it's time to pivot, when it's time to leave. If you've done everything you feel like you really, really can to change that culture and it's simply not, everyone's hiring, everyone's hiring. So for everyone who's just hanging out with us, we are at 3,301 likes on this live. Only 30 minutes in. You guys are awesome. We are on YouTube. We are on TikTok. Throw any questions you have into the chat so we can make sure to get any answers for you that you may have. We're doing our best to go on both of these platforms to really get your guys' questions answered. Let's see. I see all these. I don't know if these just came in here on YouTube, but I want to get these answers as well. You ever worked with a bilingual colleague? My first language is Spanish, but I speak 3 languages. Heck yes, Melissa. Bilingual folks are so welcome in our centers. I don't speak Spanish. I wish I spoke Spanish. It's an argument I had with my grandma a long time. So bilingual folks in our centers are so important, because when we don't have someone who speaks the language of our caller, we have to bring in an interpreter, right? Someone who is not a 911 dispatcher to help us bridge that gap of communication. So if you are able as a trained dispatcher to speak another language, that is such a benefit for our agencies. So definitely sell that in your interview as well, because it's so important. What is a typical dress code for interviews in the hiring process? I usually wear thobs in professional settings due to my culture. Should I buy a suit? So I am a big believer in showing up as your authentic self. I'm not familiar with thobs. I'm gonna Google that real quick so I can see what you're talking about here. Um, but I definitely think that not me writing thobs.com. That's not what I wanted to do. Um, yeah, so I wouldn't see anything wrong with this with the thob personally. Um, I definitely think that you should show up as your authentic self. Um, I think there is a level of, what is professionalism? Like, what is business casual? Typically, I think that's kind of the avenue we go in is for business casual, nice pants, nice top. So if you think the thobs fall into that business casual category, for you, like, yeah, by all means. Um, but typically, I would say, if you want to buy a suit, you can. But I also don't think a suit is necessary. But business casual, for sure. Thank you guys so much. Oh, I'm so happy. I love everyone on TikTok. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. But I'm so happy that YouTube is gaining some traction. Like I said, the first time I did it, a concurrent with YouTube was 2 days ago or yesterday. Yesterday. So I'm glad that we're getting some folks on here, getting their questions answered as well. Continue to like the live on whatever platform you're on, and we're going to continue to work through your questions here. RoboCrib, thank you for your service. You are a hero. Oh, thank you so much. You received a polygraph test? I have. I have taken 3 polygraph tests. I don't get to see the results, but I have successfully passed 3 polygraph tests. Yes. Has being a dispatcher affected any of your relationships? No, not me personally. I am always very intentional with communicating, though. And I think for anyone who is entering this line of work, you have to communicate with your people, whoever your people may look like, whether it's your partner, your family, what you need from them when you're having a rough day, what to expect when you're going through training, things of that nature. I always try to be really, really communicative with folks, so they know. If I'm having a bad day, I can say, hey, I'm having a bad day. I took a bad call, like whatever that looks like. And they can kind of meet me where I need to be met. Army Vet 2006 over here on YouTube. To be a fire EMS dispatcher, I'm currently in the hiring process. I did the application, critical, virtual interview, select Advantage text. Next is an in-person interview. What is the next step? I guess it depends on the interview and job offer after pending background and drug test. Yeah, it sounds like if you're going to do the next in-person interview, if that goes well, it sounds like you're probably going to get put through the background process, which is the longest part of the process. Usually after background is a polygraph. Usually after the polygraph is the medical, which includes that test as well. So it sounds like you're well on your way. Definitely check out all of our panel interview resources on that YouTube channel. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much. We're almost at 5,000 likes on TikTok. I don't know if I can see how many likes we got on YouTube here. It doesn't look like I can see it on this little setup I got. But thank you guys for tuning in. We're still working through your questions, so throw them into the chat, please. Pros and cons of the job. I want to do it, but scared I won't last. So pros and cons of the job look different for everybody. And if it falls in the pros or cons section, depends on you as a person, right? It's shift work. So you're going to work 12 hours, usually anywhere from 10 to 12-hour days, day shift, swing shift, overnight. There is a lot of mandated overtime in this line of work. So that's something to be thoughtful about when applying, and ask the agency what that looks like for them, because it looks different at every agency. The level of trauma exposure, the level of, you're dealing with people's emergencies. You're going to be hearing some things that the everyday person doesn't hear very often. So definitely make sure to consider that as well. But all of those things are also really beneficial, right? It's, I get to work a lot. I get good benefits. If I want to go make a lot of money, I have that option to go make extra money. Um, I have shift work. I work 3 12s and I have 4 days off every other week. So the pros and cons definitely depend on the person and what category that definitely falls under. Northern Illinois, very busy city. Police fire, just started my 12th year. Hey, 12 years. Congratulations. Welcome. Hello from California. Both polygraphs I did were before the background check for PD and sheriff. Really? That's interesting. Yeah, every time that I've done my poly, it's always been after I've cleared backgrounds or at the very end of my backgrounds. Janelle here from California, 7 years dispatching. Hello, fellow Californian. Welcome, welcome. Alicia, Mississippi, 8 years. Hello from California, Alicia. Congrats on 8 years. You guys are doing amazing. Thank you so much for continuing to like the live. Don't forget to like, tell a friend, leave a comment. I'm working through them, I promise. We're trying to get all these questions answered here on both these platforms. I'm in the background phase, just past my panel interview. The waiting is excruciating, but you've been a huge help. I wouldn't have gotten this far without you, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, thank you so much. I'm so glad that the resources have been helpful for you, and I'm sending all the good vibes that you hear soon, that you hear very, very soon. Won't be dispatching police and only firing EMS. Will the background be faster? I don't think the background will be faster depending on what discipline you're doing. What takes long with the backgrounds is just waiting to hear back from all the people they're calling about you. So it definitely, I don't think that fact is why it would go fast or slow. The background just takes long because it ends up being a waiting game. Yeah, I mean, depending on the department, depends on, how extensive the background process is. And hopefully, with your academy starting in September, hopefully that process moves rather quickly. For everyone just hanging out with us, we're just hanging out, answering any questions you may have about 911 dispatching. Feel free to throw any questions into these chats, and we'll do our best to get you some answers. My issue with moving on from my center is my center has the best contract in the state. Yeah. When choosing to pivot to a new center, that's definitely one of those things you have to decide. We lose seniority, right? We lose certain benefits. We have to learn how to do this job all over again. So I definitely think first step when having to deal with, a toxic center, choosing whether to leave is, have I done everything I can to improve what's going on in this center? Right? And if I have done everything I can and I don't see it improving, maybe it is time to leave. Only you can answer that for you. That's one of those things for sure. Does your department struggle with abuse of stress leave light duty assignments? It's kind of out of my range right now. I wouldn't really have that knowledge. I haven't been here long enough to really give an opinion of that. I imagine most people do at every agency, but yeah, I don't have any real thoughts about that. Do you use ProQA? I do not use ProQA. I have not used ProQA at any agency, but I know a lot of people do use it. I recently discovered I have a 10-year-old vandalism warrant, and I'm resolving in court on August 25th. Will this prevent me from passing the Sacramento PD background check? I'm still nervous. I was a teen. Currently background phase of the background unit. Wow. Yeah, that's I would say a 10-year-old vandalism warrant. I mean, disclaimer, I can't speak to any specific situation anyone is going through. But that's definitely going to be a conversation you need to have with your backgrounder. If you haven't disclosed that already, they need to know that. And, you'd be surprised how often um, things like that do get missed. Like it's just, especially when you were a kid, you know. So just communicate it with your backgrounder. It's not necessarily a hard no. Um, and yeah, I worked for Zach PD, so definitely just communicate that with your backgrounder and go from there. That's really all you can do. But man, sucks that that went on without you having to deal with that. I'm so sorry. That's really really annoying, I bet. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We got 17 people hanging out with us on TikTok, almost 6,000 likes. Continue to like the live, continue to share it. We're live on TikTok, live on YouTube, trying to answer any questions you may have. If you want to jump on and chat with me, feel free to send me a guest invite, and I'll bring you on here and we'll yap with each other for a little bit. Um, but I'm just working through the questions here on both these platforms, so bear with me as I scroll along. I'm a supervisor at a call center, but I can never do your job. Thank you. Aw, thank you so much. You sure? Sure, AJ, we're hiring at every center. Everybody's hiring, AJ. Got another, excuse me, dispatcher from Texas, 3 years on. Welcome, welcome. Hello from California. California, at least 20 plus years in this line of work. Congrats. Do you think this job has affected your mental state? I mean, I guess it would be a lie if it hasn't, right? I think it is a lot more of like, I have been so much more intentional with how I deal with my mental state, right? Like I try to be so much more intentional with self-care, taking care of myself, and giving myself grace when like I'm failing to take care of myself. You know what I mean? Like recently I'm like, man, I really got to get back in the gym because I feel better when I'm in the gym. So I'm starting that next week, you know, like those things. And I think that is kind of more of the switch, or the effect that it's had on me, is that I'm very intentional with making sure that I'm taking care of that stuff. 808 Hawaii, hey, hey, wanted to thank you for your advice with your video. I ended up getting the job, but it was tough. I eventually moved to another job within a law enforcement agency now, but I'm glad I gave it a go. That is so freaking awesome. Okay, I don't think we talk about this enough. 808 Hawaii, first of all, my partner is from Oahu, so shout out to Hawaii. And you don't know until you do it. Like, it's just one of those things. You don't know if you're going to be a successful dispatcher or be able to do this job until you're in it. So the fact that you gave it a shot, and you know, found out that it wasn't the greatest fit for you, but you were able to pivot to another thing that you love. Like, I love that. And I love that just having these conversations, putting this platform out there, puts dispatch into the conversation, into the pool of careers that we're talking about when we're considering law enforcement, right? I always thought I was going to go patrol. You know, young college athlete Ashley was gonna wanted to go patrol, right? And then I figured out like that wasn't the best fit for me. And I know that that's the reality for a lot of people. But then what do we do? What do we want to do? We want to be in this industry, but what other options are there? Dispatch, right? We want dispatch to be a part of that conversation. So thank you so much, 808 Hawaii. I'm glad these resources helped you. And I think even though dispatch wasn't the right fit, I feel like maybe we helped you, maybe helped you find the right fit. So I'm so glad. Thanks for coming back and sharing that. Anne Marie, I did disclose it. I can't believe I never knew. Yeah, that's wild. Would love to hear how that turns out. Please feel free to come back and share with us. Would love to hear it. The job brought me up to the mainland, so I'm proud to have tried it. And it wasn't the right fit, but happy still serve the community in a different capacity. Mahalo again. Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, one thing I say, to my partner is like, I don't know if I could ever go and dispatch in Hawaii because a lot of the streets are in Hawaiian and I would fail not only phonetically, but being able to say it correctly. I probably would not do well dispatching in Hawaii. Thank you guys so much for continuing to hang out, like that live. We're about 45 minutes in. We got 16 people on TikTok hanging out with us. Another 5, 6 on YouTube. Like, this is so cool. We are definitely a niche mini content creation situation here. And I just have a wonderful time. Chat, yeah, the names are also long. That's what I'm saying. That's what I am saying. Thank you guys for continuing to like the live, share it, ask your questions in the chat. I am working through these chats. I promise you guys are popping off in here, and I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh, let's see. Sorry, I always forget to like check my phone when I'm on these lives. I gotta make sure, nothing's burning down either. All right, let's see what we got here. Where did I leave off? You're so appreciated for what you do from one communications operator to another. Thank you so much. Really, really, really appreciate that. Alana Hall, North Carolina, over a year. Very, very cool. Hello from California. Yeah, I think this is right about where I left off. Elle, you helped me pass my critical test in 2021. I dispatched for 3 years. Very, very cool. Now I'm in evidence. That's another great example. 3 years you gave to dispatching. 3 years of answering 911, and now you pivoted to a new department. Very, very cool. Congrats. I'm so glad we helped you in that journey. I know a lot of folks are like, folks gotta like live and die in dispatch, but I don't agree with that. I think if you give a year, if you give 3 years, 5 years, whatever that looks like, thank you. Thank you for showing up, answering these calls, giving someone time off. Like those matter, even if it's only a couple years compared to 25, 30 years. Both are super appreciated. Thank you guys so much for continuing to like the live. We're almost at 8,000 likes here. We got 24 people kicking it right now with us, 25 people. A couple folks on YouTube. This is so cool. Continue to throw your questions into the live. If you want to jump on and chat with me, don't be shy. Send me a guest request. Happy to bring you into this bubble here of my internet. And we'll do our best to get you some questions answered here. Call taker dispatcher for 10.5 years. Anna, 10.5 years. No joke. Thank you so much for your service. Brittany, 10 years. Currently a travel dispatcher with Get Rescue 911. How is that going, Brittany? If you are interested and still here and jumping on and talking about Get Rescue 911, I'm sure a lot of people would be interested to hear about it. It is a very, very cool aspect that folks are trying out to help with our staffing shortages, which is like traveling nurses with traveling dispatchers. So very, very cool. Melissa, I work in the same county as you, IT. I don't know if that was for me. If that was for me, Alameda County, hey yo, represent. For everybody, we're hanging out over 8,000 likes, 27 people in this chat right now. I think that's the most we've had on here at one time. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for continuing to like the live. I plan to be on here probably another hour or so, or until Claudia comes home and kicks me off. One or the two. One will happen before the other. We'll see. We're just answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. We have 30 people in here. This is so freaking cool. I love this. Thank you guys so much for continuing to join, like the live, share, tell a friend. Honey, thank you so much for the rose. Let's see. How long did it take for you to be able to not become too emotionally attached with each call? Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I think it looks different for every dispatcher. And I think we're all emotionally attached to a call, right? Like, you got to feel the feels, you got to feel your feelings. you can't really bottle it up. That becomes a whole nother issue, right? Um, I think, my departments have done a really good job early on communicating like, hey, if you're having a tough time, talk about it. Here are these resources. Here are these folks that you can talk to. Talk to your people, whatever that looks like. But I think obviously the more time that passes, the more calls you answer, the more exposure that you have to emergencies, like the more numb, for lack of a better word, you get to that call. Like when I answer a call and it's something involving a pew pew, I don't even really break a sweat. Thank you so much for the heart. Like it's another day. But I remember taking my first robbery call, right? I remember that instinctively answering 911. 911's your emergency. I was just robbed at pew pew point. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on TikTok, so we're just gonna use words like that. And I remember my heart dropping, and like sweating, and I remember I trying to go type, and you start typing, but now it's like, okay, where is it? Where's the pew pew? And you just start rolling through. So I think a lot of it is just reps and exposure. But yeah, continuing to work on things early. Get into therapy, you don't necessarily need a traumatic incident to start talking to folks about stuff, so do that work early. Do that work early. Guys, we're on our way to 10,000 likes. We're on our way to 10,000 likes. We have over 30 people hanging out with us. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. I'm doing my best to work through all of your guys' comments. I promise I'm trying not to miss them. Thank you guys so much for being so active in this chat. It's so freaking cool. It's so fun. Let's see. Iowa, 17 years. Hey, not to brag, but Forest City, Iowa, Waldorf University graduate right here. Chantel. So shout out to Iowa. I got a lot of love for Iowa. Rhea, Georgia, 9 years. Congrats. Hello from California. 9 years, no joke, Rhea. Thank you so much for joining us. Lauren, I have a written test and typing test on Monday for a 911 dispatcher position. Definitely check out our YouTube channel, Lauren, if you haven't. Lots of info on there for you. Our podcast, Let's Talk Dispatch, is on our YouTube channel as well. And anywhere you listen to podcasts. So you can hear from other dispatchers besides me about their experiences, and just check out all of our resources as you prepare for this process. Why did you move agencies? So I originally moved from SAC to the Bay because I relocated to move in with my partner. And then I just recently relocated for a supervisor position. So I promoted. So I took a promotion when I moved to this new agency. I heard multiple experienced dispatchers on social media say training can be rough because ... trainers can be burnt out, or I don't know. What was your experience? Yeah. CTOs can be burnt out. They can be kind of old and grumpy sometimes. I had a wonderful experience in my training process. I personally have never had a negative experience with any of my trainers. But to say that doesn't happen for trainees would be a lie. And I think that the hardest part for trainees, regardless of if you got a little grumpy old dispatch trainer, is that they're not used to receiving so much critiques, so much feedback for 10 to 12 hours a day. When you start answering 911, when you start getting on that phone, you're going to be told, nope, you didn't do that. You didn't answer that question. You asked that, but you forgot to ask this. You should have typed it this way. You flipped it, 12 hours of that. And we, as adult humans, we're not used to receiving so much criticism and feedback, and you just constantly feel like you can't get it right. So when you feel that, know, A, this is normal, and B, don't take it personal. They are telling you everything you do wrong to make you their equal, because after they release you from training, you're now my shift partner. I have to depend on you when the poo-poo hits the fan, right? And if I can't trust you, then you're not a good shift partner for me. So all that feedback, all that criticism, everything you're going to receive during training, it's going to feel personal sometimes, but it's just part of it. It's just part of it. And communicate with your trainer. Ask for feedback, ask questions, make sure to take lots of notes, all that's really important in the training process. We're at 10,000 likes, y'all. 10,000 likes, hanging out on YouTube, hanging out on TikTok. Keep throwing your questions in the chat. We had over 30 people hanging out with us. I think this is the most we've had so far since we started doing these lives, which is freaking awesome. So thank you guys so much. Doing my best to work through any questions you have in these chats, which are super, super active. You guys are freaking so awesome. Starting year 24, Central Illinois. Hello. 24 years. Congrats. I love the name. This app sucks. That's hilarious. Love it. Kaylee, I'm EMS in East Texas. Much love for the dispatchers. Thank you so much, Kaylee. We appreciate you. I am actually more in tune with EMS now that I've been working fire dispatch. You guys are so appreciated. So appreciated. 18 years in Washington State. Heyo. Helen, congrats on 18 years. What's up from 911 in Arizona? I didn't realize you were in Arizona. That's pretty close. That is pretty close. I might have to skedaddle out there. Might have to head out there to Arizona. Okay, I feel like I got pushed down in these comments here. Where did I go? I feel like I got dropped down. Hold on, let's see. Okay, I answered that. Let's see. Dispatcher here out of California too. Hello, Angelo. Bay Area, California dispatcher for almost 1.5 years. I'm in my toddler phase. Angelo, Bay Area too. We in the Bay. We out here, born and raised, baby. Congrats. The Bay, man, we're different out here, We're different. MLY guy, I want to become one. What should I ask before I jump into it? You should first go to my YouTube channel, The Raspy Dispatcher, because I just have a lot of informational videos to answer those questions that you want to get answered. Knowing about the job, or excuse me, I forgot to plug. I have my informational webinar that I do once a month coming up on the 25th. It's called Unpacking the Process. We spend an hour talking about the job, answering questions just like this. I have my little slide deck, my little presentation. But it's very much like this, though. I get on here with you folks. We ask questions. We go through a presentation, and we learn about the job of 911 dispatching. So if you're on the fence, not sure if you want to dispatch, want to learn more about the job, you can go register for that free webinar at theraspydispatcher.com. It's going to be at the 25th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So definitely check out those resources at theraspydispatcher.com and come join us. That's going to be a fun chat. I just watched a Criminal Minds episode of a killer being a 911 operator. Let me tell ya, why can't we be friends? I don't got time, so it ain't me, okay? I literally don't have time to be a suspect, all right? So, hey, but I love Criminal Minds, though. Not gonna lie. Excellent show. Excellent show. What advice do you give the public when calling 911 to get help fast? Okay, here's my spiel. Okay, for the everyday citizen, I need to know your location first and foremost. Before you start telling me everything that you believe is important, I need to know where the heck you are. My technology does not accurately 100% tell me where you are, so I'm going to confirm the location with a full address or an intersection. If you're having trouble, we'll work through it together, but need to know the address first and foremost. And then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of things. Why are you calling? What made you dial 911 at this very moment? Now, if it stems from something that happened 20 years ago and it showed up today, I don't want to know the 20 years ago history right now. We'll get to that. I believe it's important. I want to hear about it. But I want to know right now, at this very moment, why you dial 911? What caused you to go, I need the police right now, or I need emergency services? If it's a medical emergency, we're going to get the proper folks going. We're going to get you some medical advice, and get you going into that realm of response. If it is a police emergency, like an in progress, not something that we will take a report on that happened, like your vehicle was broken into overnight, or something like that. You walked out, your car's gone, you don't know where it is, you think someone stole it. Those are report calls. It's not an in progress thing. If it's an in progress thing, we're going to start working through the details of that. If there's someone who was hurt you, causing harm, I want to know about that person first, what they did, if there were any pew-pews, any other miscellaneous items involved. If they left on foot, I want a description of them so people know what they're looking for. If they left in a vehicle, I want the vehicle description, so we're looking for the right vehicle. And then we'll just kind of roll from there. And then we can get to like 20 years ago, this is why this is happening. But I need all that in progress stuff first, so the responders, are going to the right location with the right amount of support, the correct help, and we can actually lean towards, apprehending or stopping whatever is going on at that moment. And that's just a little rant about it. But really what it comes down to is listen to the questions that are being asked of you. We will guide the call. We will drive the car. Let us do it. We promise. We will get to all the things you want to make sure we know, but I need you to answer my questions first and foremost. Whew, I think I earned a drink after that one. All right, you guys are freaking awesome. We had 11,000 likes on TikTok, hanging out with you folks on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to do our best to work through all of these wonderful questions that you guys have been throwing into the chat. I'm going to do my best to get through them here. Anne-Marie here over on YouTube. I'm here in SAC. Did you like it? I'm a little worried about the vibes. I really want to do this job, but I don't know. I got the vibe from my interview that there's a lot of drama within the department. Hope I'm not wrong. Definitely do a sit along. I had a wonderful time at SAC. I don't know if that was the experience for everyone. I think it'd be silly to think that was the experience for everyone, but I loved SAC PD. I would still be there if I didn't, meet my partner, if I didn't relocate back to the Bay Area, I would still be at SAC PD. I think they've had a lot of shift in leadership, a lot of staffing changes, so they might be going through a big culture shift, but do a sit along. Definitely go check the vibes, and there are a lot of agencies out that way that you could check out too. Thank you guys so much for continuing to like the live. We're still hanging out. I am still working through these questions, so please feel free to continue to throw these questions in the chat. I promise I am working through them all. Steph Medina, New Jersey, 6 years. Hello from California. Thanks so much for jumping on and saying hi with us. Can you run a warrant check real quick? Nah, I sure can't. Bill Nye the Russian Spy, though. On the background packet, they told me to list all the jobs I've had, and I've had 16 jobs. Yeah, it sucks. Jays, let me tell you, it sucks. It sucks for me. I've had quite a bit of jobs, too. But I also lived in the Bay, so it's expensive out here. I moved every year. I had to put so many years of residency on my packet. It's so annoying. Yeah, it is a really, really thick packet. It just sucks. It sucks that you have to list all that. I know the feeling, man. I know the feeling. I listed them, but will it affect anything? I was young. No, not having a lot of jobs isn't the issue, right? It's like I had 16 jobs and I was fired from every single one of them. Like that's the red flag, right? Like not that you've had 16 jobs. It's like everyone, is trying to find a good fit. But if you were like fired from all 16 of your jobs, that's more the red flag, right? Than just having 16 jobs. Vegas Brie, I just finished testing for 2 different agencies. I'm federal now, and I'm blah 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 blah. I'm federal right now, and I'm a little nervous to transition. Hey, I hear you. Trying anything new is tough. It is tough, but do your due diligence. You got 2 agencies you're looking at. Go do sit-alongs. Go do vibe checks. Ask them questions about things that are important to you that you want to know about. Not all these agencies are not all built the same. And these agencies need to work harder to create environments for us to thrive in. So make sure that agency that you choose is a good fit. Especially if you're going to do a pivot and like do this new thing. We want to make sure that we, find the right place for us, right? But definitely good luck in your process. I hope you hear soon. And I hope you get to pick. I hope you get 2 offers and you get to choose which one is the best for you. Thank you guys so much for continuing to like the live. We're at over 12K likes on TikTok. Got about 25 people hanging out with us. We are just answering questions about 911 dispatching. I'm doing my best to work through this chat, especially on TikTok. It is active over here, boy. I appreciate y'all, as well as checking out YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, definitely throw your questions in the chat. We're working through these questions as well. I'm just starting to do this streaming on YouTube. I know there's a lot of folks that utilize our YouTube channel, and I want to make sure we give an opportunity to answer your guys' questions as well. Gabrielle Watson, hi. Your channel has helped me a lot with getting to know what all comes with dispatch. I was just accepted into STLPD and I started training in September. Kind of nervous. Any tips? I never dispatched. Very, very cool. Welcome to the Thin Gold Line family. I am so glad you made it through that tough, long process and get to experience dispatch training. And let me tell you, you thought the process was long and hard. Training is going to be longer and harder. Just give yourself a lot of grace. You're going to feel like you can't do anything right and that you are learning so much and you don't think you can retain it. And how is anyone supposed to remember all of this? And those are all normal feelings. Hopefully you get to go through it with some academy mates and you guys can lean on each other. If not, definitely find someone that you can kind of talk to and vent to in your center that kind of gets it and can kind of guide you through those tough days. But remember to give yourself grace. You're going to make more mistakes than not. Your trainer's got your back. They're going to make sure that you learn from those mistakes. But when you feel like all you're hearing is negative feedback and critiques, that's the way this training is designed. You're probably doing much better than you believe you are. You got this. Congrats. You're going to do amazing. Thank you guys so much for continuing to like the lives no matter what platform you are on. Tap that screen, like, thumbs up on YouTube. I don't know what it looks like on YouTube, but don't forget to like it, share it, tell a friend. We're just answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have while we have you. Who is here from Alameda County? I need tips. I'm here from Alameda County. I'm here from Alameda County. Also worked in Contra Costa County, if that's helpful. Everybody, I'm still working through these chats. Thank you so much for continuing to be amazing and active in these chats. Can you become a dispatcher if you have a misdemeanor? The short answer is yes. When it comes to history, usage history or criminal history. Time and space is the best response for any negative thing like that. A misdemeanor from 15 years ago, you never had any other issues since then. It's a one and done thing. It's the chance, depending on what, violent things, domestic violence, like that's probably going to be a hard no. Um, but things like a DUI, or, petty theft, I don't know. There's probably hundreds of misdemeanors that I can't think of right now. But things of that nature, 10 years, last issue, haven't had any other issues since, you know, depending on what it was and how long since it occurred, you're going to have a better opportunity to move forward. But you're going to have to own it. You're going to have a conversation about it. You're going to have to talk all about it with your backgrounder. And then the department might still say no. Backgrounds and things like that are very dependent on the department. I always say backgrounds is like dating with departments because they're choosing to swipe left or right on you. What one department might swipe left on, another department might swipe right. So if you fail backgrounds with one agency and you have like something like that, I wouldn't hesitate to try at another agency. It just may not have been a good fit with that department. But of course, it depends on, a lot of details that I don't have because I'm not your backgrounder. Everybody, thank you so much for continuing to like the live. We're at 13,000 likes, hanging out, just talking about 911 dispatching. You guys are freaking awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. Is this pre-recorded? I didn't see that question. It is not pre-recorded. We're live. We are live and hanging out. I might have read a question off of YouTube. YouTube is going as well. So I'm reading off of TikTok chat and I'm reading off of YouTube chat. So if you didn't see the question, it might have been over on YouTube that I was reading it from. They even had him list his past relationships. They sure do. Everyone you dated, everyone you lived with. I had to go knock on my neighbors' doors and introduce myself and get their information. So backgrounds is very thorough, and it's honestly meant to push you a little bit. My backgrounds at my first agency literally said on the paperwork over neighbors, if you don't know your neighbor, knock on the door and introduce yourself. What? If you don't know your neighbor, knock on the door and introduce yourself. I mean, so a lot of people won't, right? And that's weeding out in itself. If you don't want to go knock on your neighbor's door and introduce yourself, that's part of this process, right? So crazy. Carrie Williams, Wyoming, 25 years. Hello from California. Congrats on 25 years. Really appreciate all that time spent there. Christina, hi, dispatcher in Georgia. Fairly new, 2 years in, and finally feel like I found my in-game career. That's so freaking awesome. I'm so happy to hear that you found a home with dispatching. It's definitely one of those things that, you don't know until you know. So I'm glad you're having such a wonderful experience and continue to work out in this career. Very cool. Started in Montana, currently in North Dakota, 11 and a half years. Hello from California. Hi from Alaska. Dispatching for 2 years. Man, how many bear calls you get out there? Alaska? How many bear calls? I could never. That's so crazy. And it's so bright all the time, right? That's Alaska. So bright. So bright. The way I would be confused. So cool. You guys are so freaking amazing. Still working through these chats. Do you ever lose your patience? Never on a recorded line, Never on a recorded line, okay? We're human. We're humans doing a human job. I think you always have to be aware of where you're at. You know, if you need to step off the floor, if the next person who drops in your ear is about to have you wilding on this recorded line, ask to take a walk, ask to take a break. Um, you know, I think that's some self assurance. You have to make sure that you know thyself. You know, we can easily allow ourselves to lose our patience, but you know, we're here to do a job, and we're being recorded doing said job. So, um, you definitely want to make sure if you need a moment, take that moment, ask for it, advocate for yourself, because we need you to come back answering these phones, right? How much overtime is your agency experiencing? I would say my agency, my folks, they're probably averaging at least 1 to 2. I'd say at least one additional shift a week right now. At least one. That's just off the top of my head, to be honest. I mean, I worked 2 overtimes this week, so trying to do my share. Dispatcher for 7 years, now a stay-at-home mom. Very, very, very cool. And let me tell you, the second job is probably much, much harder than that first job. So, congrats. Thank you for 7 years. Tell the littles hello from California. Indiana, 3 years. Indiana, 3 years. Hello. I always say this whenever Indiana comes up. Fun fact. Evansville, is that it? That's where my mom's from. Evansville, Indiana. I think that's what it's called. Ooh. Let's see, over here on YouTube. Super excited for my sit along. I'm waiting to hear back from Christy on my date. Any advice for me before my sit along in SAC? Super excited. Just be prepared. Whenever you do a sit along, to ask questions. They're never going to sit you with someone who doesn't enjoy sit alongs, because that would be a negative recruiting tactic. Definitely be willing to ask questions, be really engaged. Check out our YouTube videos, even for the interview process. We have questions to ask at your interview, because then you can ask like what's important to you. If working a lot's important to you, you want to ask about like mandated overtime, things of that nature. If scheduling, training, like what that looks like for you in the beginning of your career. Ask all those questions and see what you can get answers to make a decision if this agency is the right one for you. I'm a content creator on YouTube. Will that come up in my background? Sure will. If they could type in your name, Ashley Valenzuela, and the Raspy Dispatcher comes up, they're going to ask me about that. Especially if you're making money from it. If you're in the monetization program, I would even list it as some type of volunteer or like second job, because you are receiving funds from it. But yeah, anything that's on a public facing platform like that, I would definitely expect for it to come up if you do not disclose it yourself. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. We're at 13,000 likes. We've been chatting for over an hour. Feel free to continue to throw questions into that chat. We're going to do our best to work through this chat here. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. Having a wonderful time chatting with you guys. So thank you so much for jumping on with us today. All right. Sorry, guys. I am working through these questions here. Every time it like scrolls down, I want to make sure that I'm not missing too many of y'all questions here. How can someone become a 911 dispatcher with no experience? Because you don't need any experience to be a 911 dispatcher, because we're going to teach you how to do it. Every agency does it differently. It looks different at every agency. The basic, I think, experience you need is customer service, dealing with people. You're going to be doing that on the phone in a very elevated way, dealing with people's emergencies. So, you want to make sure that Teamwork's big, being able to take constructive criticism, feedback. Those are big attributes I think all of our panels are definitely looking for. Yeah, I think what is needed to start personality wise characteristics. So it's kind of fallen into the same thing for me, which is like your ability to show up, be a team player, take feedback, take criticism, learn from your mistakes. Customer service is huge, just having that experience, which you all naturally have. But it is definitely something that is very entry level, which I think is the coolest part of this job is you don't need any degrees. I got a few of them. You don't need them to get into this line of work and be successful. So entry level, no degrees or certifications needed. Rocket. Madison, I'd love to be a 911 dispatcher, but a few things hold me back. Typing, long hours, work-life balance. Yeah. I mean, I think every dispatcher could probably say we all need to work on our work-life balance. It's not a perfect system, but yeah, it's definitely a conversation you need to have with yourself, your loved ones, how that will impact you and your people. And if it is something you want to commit to, because it is a career, it is a commitment. You are giving yourself to this service to an extent sometimes where you're going to feel a little unappreciated for that service. So it's definitely not for everybody, but it's definitely a conversation you should have with yourself and your support system to make sure it's a good fit for you. All right, everybody, we're hanging out, answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. It is only 5:16, so I'm probably going to be hanging out for at least another 30-40 minutes, to be honest. At least another 30-40 minutes. I'm still working through this chat, these questions. Please continue to throw your questions into the chat. I will do my best to get some answers for you, to acknowledge them. We really love and appreciate all the support. My dog just heard a helicopter. She's like, what is that? How long do you allow sit-alongs? I'd say sit-alongs typically last about 2 hours, especially if you're doing dual training. So an hour on radio, an hour on phones. You don't want to sit for too long. Dispatchers gotta deal with you and their job, So about 2 hours, I would say, is pretty regular. 911 dispatching for 7 years now. A stay-at-home mom to twins. Oh, I prefer dispatching. I bet twins, no joke. No joke. Congratulations on the twins. We still hiring though. Hey there, are you using TikTok Studio? I am using TikTok Studio. Did you see a weird reduction in viewers? I did not. But to be fair, I don't have like hundreds of viewers on at a time. So I actually saw a really big increase in viewers today. I had like over 30 people in here at one time, which is awesome. So yeah, I didn't notice any weird reduction. I'm currently a CSO for a PD, been wanting to transfer to dispatch, but scared of not passing the test. I feel like a lot of departments don't want to lose you, right? So if you're going within your department, maybe have a conversation like, hey, I want to give this a try, but if it doesn't work out, can I come back here? I know they did that at SAC PD for folks who wanted to go try patrol. So yeah, check that out. Alabama, 29 years. Hello from California. 29 years, April. No joke. Very, very cool. Been a dispatcher for almost 11 years now. One of the busiest cities in Canada. It's a lot. I bet. We plan on getting out to Canada, hopefully next year. So hello from California. As a supervisor now, are you involved at all in the hiring process at your center? I am. We do a really good job at making sure a lot of folks are involved in that process. We let our dispatchers sit on our panels as well. They are the ones that are having to work with the folks that we bring into the center. So we definitely make it a team contribution when going through our process to Find the right fits for our center. Do you watch the show 911? I have watched the show 911. I love those things. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people are like, this isn't realistic. Obviously, we gotta watch those things for what they are, which is entertainment. So I've watched the show 911. I enjoy it. I'm not up to date on the like new or seasons, but like when it first dropped, I was watching it. Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. Again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We've been going for almost an hour and a half here. Almost 14,000 likes. Don't forget to continue liking that live as we continue to work through these awesome questions in the chat. We're live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. Just made a year as a dispatcher in New Jersey. Never thought I'd land in this career, but I'll never leave. Congrats on your 1 year, Leslie. So cool. That year is no joke. Congratulations on making it to your 1 year. Marie, New Mexico, 3 years. Congrats on 3 years. How do you become an operator? I'm assuming that's dispatcher or call taker. You apply. Period. You don't need any degrees. You don't need any certifications. If you need post, your agency will pay to put you through post. You don't need to sponsor, but some people do. But you don't need any certifications. Head to governmentjobs.com, look at your local agencies, and hit that apply button. Colorado, 17 years. Hello from Cali. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Bah. California, and I am 2 months in, trying not to get discouraged during the training phase. That is so accurate. I think 2 months, that's where you start to feel a little wobbly, like, what am I doing here? Why did I sign myself up for this? Total normal feelings. Total normal feelings. I've been trying to get into dispatch. San Joaquin County, I failed all my post exams except one. Post is tough. Yeah, the post dispatcher test is tough. South Carolina, a little over a year. Hello from California. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Jen, 10 years in Missouri. I love lives. We've had someone from Canada, had someone from Alaska, Georgia, Missouri, Arkansas. Like, so cool that we're able to connect even in this virtual space, and for folks who are in this chat, like, seeing dispatchers in their same state, connect with them. Why is running Indiana plates so annoying? That's true. Indiana dispatchers? Do you have an answer? Because I don't. Because when my officer trips an Indiana plate, I literally say over there, copy, we'll give it a shot, doesn't normally come back. Like, let you know now, it's not me, it's them. I don't know why, man, but it is tough. It's tough to get an Indiana plate return. Not a lot of Indiana plates in Cali, though. Luckily. Sorry for the folks who border Indiana, I guess. My dog just looks so bothered that I'm not paying attention to her right now. Oh. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for continuing to like the live, hanging out with us. We're going to hang out for a little while longer here. Any tips for someone still going through the training phase on not getting discouraged during? Be really specific with the notes you're taking and the questions you're asking, so you don't have to continue asking the same questions over and over again. I know sometimes we're like being so inundated with information, we don't want to seem like we need to take notes, but write your notes. Even when I was fully off training, and even when I'm fully off training now, I refer to my notes. I can't know everything or remember everything. It's just not humanly possible. So I would literally, even SAC, my first job, they gave us a little mini binder that Every time I went to shift, pulled it out of my locker, it went with me to whatever position I was working. So I could refer to if I had any questions or anything going on. Iowa, almost 3 years. Hello, Casey. Hello from California. Tony, Florida, 3 years, almost 4. Congrats on almost 4 years. Hello from Cali. Coco, I recently got selected to go through the interview process here in San Jose. San Jose Fire Department, so excited. Congrats, Coco. Sending you all the good vibes for your interview process. All the good vibes. Misha, California going to be a year in November. Training is about 10 to 11 months and probation is done in 1.5 years. Very, very cool. Yeah, you're almost through there, man. Almost through that probation. Once you're off probation, it's a wonderful feeling, let me tell you. I was a dispatcher right outside of New Orleans. It was great. Back in school for respiratory now. Very, very cool. So glad that you're going to school, found something you're excited about, even after giving your time to dispatch. Very, very cool. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for continuing to like that live. We got like 20 people in here hanging out with us, working through these chats and these questions right now. Excuse me. So, feel free to continue to throw your questions. I will do my best to check them out and get some answers for you. I used to watch your YouTube videos when I first started. So cool. I'm so glad that our resources helped you. I love hearing about when the resources like help people get into the center. Like, man, that's what we're here for. Do you meal plan, pack meals for your 12-hour shifts? Let me tell you, I've been slacking so hard lately. But yes, typically I meal prep in order to have healthy food on shift. You know, as we know, it's tough. It's tough to be healthy in a center. I'm trying to do, which I also fell off this week, which I'm trying to be more consistent in whatever it is the heck that I'm doing. But I'm trying to do the intermittent fasting, especially when I'm working nights. Like get that last meal in before 7, so I'm not snacking overnight. Because it's easy to do in this line of work. So, definitely helps to make your food, meal prep, all that good stuff. Like hearing noises. Hopefully no one's breaking in. Let's see. Oh no, dog's just being loud. Okay. I'm in California. My T-score for the post test wasn't great and I feel so discouraged. Adriana, take it again. Take that post test again. Post is a beast. It is a weird test. It's a tough test. I think it's harder than critical. It's my personal opinion. So take it one more time. You know, now you know what you're going in there doing. So I would take that test again. Dispatcher in Georgia. Been in the field 7 years now. I appreciate you all. Oh, thank you so much. Hello from California. Katie did. Hi, California, 18 years. Hello, Katie, fellow Californian. Hello. I'm in month 2 of training and understand the radio is ridiculously hard. It is. It is so hard to understand the radio. Half the battle, I think, is knowing context clues. You can start predicting what it is that they said because you have an understanding of what they're going to be asking for. The one example I always go to is if my unit put out a traffic stop, they already ran the plate. The next thing they're probably going to be asking for is to run that person's like driver's license and history. So when they come up on the radio, kind of having that idea, okay, they went out on this type of call. What are some things that they might put out? I think that having those context clues, especially when you're in training, will really help you kind of decipher what they're asking for. Ashley, what is your favorite part about being in that field? I just love like how unpredictable my day at work is. I can go in for overtime and it'd be like crickets, and then I can go in and then all of a sudden it's a roller coaster. I really enjoy that aspect of our job. I don't know if everyone else necessarily does, but I enjoy kind of the constant change in this line of work. Iowa Dispatcher just hit 4 years in July. Congrats! Congrats from California. Again, Forest City, Iowa. Waldorf University graduate right here. I got lots of love for Iowa. Had lots of good memories there in Des Moines and Mason City and Clear Lake. So, hello from California for sure. Come here. Just lay down. Everything's okay. Colorado for 2 years on lunch now. Enjoy your lunch. So glad you're hanging out with us on your lunch break, Christopher. Destiny, we have a cheat sheet. Indiana Dispatch, almost 2 years now. Congrats on 2 years. Hello from California. Tania, good old California, 7 years. That's right. Nice to see you again, Tania. I've been debating on applying. Other than customer service, what skills do you need? Obviously, you need to be able to base type on a keyboard, kind of like basic computer excuse me, skills. But we're going to teach you how to type and talk and do all those things. But getting very familiar with typing will be very helpful. What other skills you need? Obviously, ability to multitask is very, very helpful. But a lot of it, like, we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you how to do it. Mississippi here. My first day is September 3rd. Victoria, welcome to the Thin Gold Line. Thank you so much for joining us. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be wonderful. You're never gonna miss radio traffic. You're never gonna miss anything. It's gonna be perfect. Training is gonna be so easy for you. That's what I'm manifesting. I'm manifesting all those good vibes for you. I never realized people struggled with Indiana plates until I got on Dispatch TikTok. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is with Indiana DMV. Like, thank you for the heart. Like, you can't get an Indiana plate for nothing. I'm assuming Indiana gets returns, but outside of Indiana, I don't know. Thank you guys so much for continuing to like the live. It says we're still at 14,000 likes. I feel like we're at more. But thank you so much for continuing to like the live. We're just hanging out, answering any questions about 911 dispatching you may have. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok, answering these questions. We've been chilling for like almost 2 hours now, and I think we're just gonna hang out for another 20 minutes or so. See if we can get anyone else on here, answer any other questions. Let's see. South Georgia, 15 years in. Last 8 as the director for our center. Whitney, thank you so much for what you're doing for your center. Directors kind of get forgotten. You know what I mean? Directors, supervisors do get forgotten. You guys do a lot of great things for our center. You are appreciated. You got leaders from the top down. You are so appreciated. I have a second interview coming up with the hiring manager. Any tips? I feel like when you get put through a secondary interview with the hiring manager, with the director, it is a very good sign. That is my personal opinion. I think the best thing is to, if you're asking like direct questions, like express why you are ready and willing to step up to this challenge. Excuse me. You're ready and willing to step up to this challenge. You know it's going to be challenging, but you're going to be really committed to learning how to do this tough job at this agency to keep the community and the unit safe. I think that's what most directors are wanting to hear. We have a director in the chat. Whitney, feel free to give some advice here. What are you looking for when you have that second interview with a potential candidate? I think folks are looking for that. They're looking for your commitment. They're looking to know you're a team player, that you realize it's going to be a tough process. Training won't be easy, and you're ready to receive that feedback. I think that's what folks are mostly looking for, in my opinion. Georgia here, 19 years this year. Congrats on 19 years. Hello from California. Stacy, Texas, 8 years. 8 years, Stacy. So cool. Hello from California. Can you tell us an embarrassing moment you've had on a call or on the radio? I can never think of these things. I need to be better and write this stuff down. I've had open mics before. I've said the street's wrong. I mean, the things are endless, you know. Yeah. But I can't think of anything specific off the top of my head, to be honest. With Indiana, if it's a tractor trailer, put AP. That's crazy. A tractor. See, we don't deal with tractor trailers too often here in California. Do you do police, fire, EMS, or just police? I have historically done just police. I have recently just started doing police and fire. Was a dispatcher for 7 years, been out for 4. I question every day if leaving was the right decision. Dakota, we're always hiring. You can always come back. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Sometimes, you know, you got to figure out what's best for you. And sometimes it is 911. Sometimes it's not. And that's just what it is. South Carolina, 3.5 months. Hello from California. Thank you so much for jumping on with us. If you get someone with Indiana, they can share the requirements for run and play. No, seriously. I have no idea. If you have a history of depression, would you advise against this career choice? I think that's really a question you have to ask yourself. I think folks deal with stuff every single day and can continue to serve our communities, right? Our dispatchers should be a reflection of the communities we serve. And, you know, a lot of folks do deal with depression. So I think that question is really specific for each and every individual. I think for some folks who deal with depression might not be a good fit. For others, it might. I definitely think that's a question to talk with your loved ones, with your support system, with your therapist, if you utilize one, to figure out if this makes sense for you. But I don't think it's like a depression. No, I don't think that at all. Texas, 24 years. Hello from California. Hey, 911 dispatcher here from Georgia. Hello. My dog is like, you are gonna play with me. You haven't been playing with me at all today. Yeah, I know, chap. I know. I'm sorry. Worst mommy ever. We had him open mic a few weeks ago, but all of the radios were open. Oh no! The worst is when, you know, when that $11.99, that emergency button is hit on accident. Of course, it's terrible when it's on purpose, but when it's on accident and it keeps getting hit and it's just blaring in your ear, that's the worst. That is the worst. Tennessee, 4 years. Hello, Amanda. Hello from California. We're going to be in Tennessee, Knoxville, the Denise Amber Lee Conference in January. We're going to be vendoring there. So definitely come by and see us if you get a chance to go to a conference this year. How did you get started? So I got my undergrad and graduate degrees in administration of justice. So I always thought I was going to go patrol. And then I did social work after I graduated for a good while. I was coaching basketball. I was really trying to coach basketball full time. Wanted to spend my life in athletic clothing like I did for the first half of my life. So I was coaching at the junior college level in Sacramento. Um, and I was really, really ready to get a big girl job and, utilize these degrees that I invested in, and I started applying for different roles in law enforcement, and dispatch kind of landed first. And then I went through my academy with the Sacramento Police Department and had such a wonderful experience with that department overall. And then I started the Raspy Dispatcher stuff, and that's kind of how we got to where we are today. Lisa, I'm in Knoxville. Hey, I'm about an hour and a half from Knoxville. I think we might try to do like a Raspy meetup in Knoxville when we go. I was thinking about that for folks who are gonna be in Knoxville, like maybe like meet up at a little drinky drink place or something to be able to chat and say hi and whatnot. I think we might end up doing that for Knoxville. Have a little event. For everybody who's just jumping on with us, we are winding down. To be honest, here we have over 15,000 likes. We've been hanging out for almost 2 hours. We're about 16 minutes away, I think, from 2 hours, or 14 minutes away from 2 hours. Just chatting about 911 dispatching. I think it's awesome. I think it's amazing. Just from this little session, we got 18 new followers here at the Raspy Dispatcher. I think that's always so cool, so interesting. Because when you're putting out content a lot, like I do, you feel like everyone knows you, right? Like, I put out all this stuff, but really 18 people found us today just from us chatting about 911 dispatch. And hopefully, you folks were able to make some connections with other dispatchers as well. So I really do appreciate you folks jumping on, chatting with me, and really being active in these chats. That's what we're here for. South Dakota here, dispatching just over 4 years. Hello from California, Braden. Welcome. Thank you so much for jumping on and saying hello. Okay. We're almost done. Yeah. Dog's not having it. Dog is like, you are going to play with me now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whew. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to call it a day before my dog pees in my slipper because she is being needy right now. Trey, my wife is a dispatcher in Lee County, Florida, Fort Myers for 4 years. It's a wild job. Hey, way to come on here and represent for your wife. That is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and saying hello. I'm sure she appreciates your support. It definitely is a tough and wild job. So thank you so much for coming on and showing some love for your wife. We appreciate that. Tell her hello from a California dispatcher here. All right, everyone, we're going to cut it here. Thank you so much for hanging out for these almost 2 hours chatting about 911 dispatch. We're going to try to go live probably at least once or twice a week. So definitely check out our YouTube channel, The Raspy Dispatcher, theraspydispatcher.com for all of our resources. And we'll do our best to connect with you soon. See you guys next time.